This ancient Bible, believed to be around 2,000 years old, reveals a secret about Jesus that the Church has allegedly hidden for centuries. Despite an increasingly secular world, the Bible remains the best-selling book globally, holding within its pages the stories and philosophical foundations of Christianity. Comprising 76 books or chapters, divided into the Old and New Testaments, the Bible recounts the history of humanity, starting from the creation of the world. It includes narratives about key figures in Christian belief, such as Isaiah, Moses, Abraham, and Jesus Christ. Among the most prominent sections are the Gospels, which detail the life of Jesus. There are officially 4 Gospels, attributed to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Though they differ slightly in details, these texts are considered the authoritative religious account of Jesus' life and teachings. But what if I told you that there are other versions, one of which claims that the crucifixion did not happen as traditionally believed? In this video, we will explore the Gospel of Barnabas, an alternative account of Christianity's foundational events, which is recognized by Islam. We will also delve into the legend of the Codex Gigas, a medieval manuscript famously known as the Devil's Bible. Before we go further, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to stay updated with our latest content. About 22 years ago, a group of antiquities thieves was caught trying to smuggle several relics, among which was an ancient book, approximately 2,000 years old, written by hand in Syriac and Aramaic, the latter being the language Jesus spoke. Upon further investigation, it was found to be a new and unknown gospel, different from the canonical ones. Such non-canonical gospels are considered apocryphal, lacking divine inspiration, or being falsely attributed to certain authors. Despite this, the book is estimated to be worth around $28 million and is attributed to Saint Barnabas, one of the early Christian disciples in Jerusalem. Barnabas, a Jewish Cypriot, is one of the first Christians mentioned in the New Testament of the Bible, appearing in the Acts of the Apostles and in the Epistles of St. Paul. Born in Cyprus, Barnabas is regarded as an apostle, though of a lesser rank than the 12 principal apostles. Some even credit him with the authorship of the Epistle to the Hebrews, though this remains more conjecture than verified history. Barnabas was a close collaborator of St. Paul, and is sometimes identified as a cousin of Mark the Evangelist. He was an integral member of the nascent Christian community in Jerusalem, and it was he who introduced Paul to the apostles after Paul's conversion. Barnabas played a crucial role in spreading Christ's teachings and in converting non-Jewish communities in Antioch, Jerusalem, Cyprus, and other significant cities. He was highly respected by the apostles, who considered him a man full of faith and the Holy Spirit, according to the Acts of the Apostles. According to apocryphal tradition, Barnabas was martyred by a group of Jews in Syria while preaching the gospel. They tortured and stoned him to death. The Gospel of Barnabas, believed to be 2,000 years old, reveals that Jesus was not crucified. This apocryphal gospel presents an alternative version of events, deviating significantly from the official Catholic canon. According to the text, Judas Iscariot was crucified in Jesus' place. Furthermore, the gospel does not recognize Christ as the Son of God or as part of the Holy Trinity. Instead, it portrays Jesus as a prophet who preached God's word. Interestingly, the text also accuses the Apostle Paul of being an impostor. This is striking, given the close and significant relationship Barnabas had with Paul. For some, this could imply that Paul's gospel, and by extension, the other 3 canonical gospels, were either false or contain lies. Could this text suggest that Paul forced Barnabas to write a different version of events? It's impossible to know for sure today, but it is certainly intriguing to consider these accusations coming from someone so closely associated with Paul. In addition to altering the story of the crucifixion, the Gospel of Barnabas includes a detailed account of Christ's life, from the Annunciation by the Archangel Gabriel to the Virgin Mary before the Messiah's birth. The text follows Christ's life, works, and teachings, with particular emphasis on his preaching and passion. It ends with a message from Jesus, asking that his word be spread throughout the world. The Gospel of Barnabas is as long as the 4 canonical Gospels combined, comprising 222 chapters and around 75,000 words. It combines elements of traditionally accepted stories in the Catholic canon, such as the Annunciation, the Adoration of the Magi, the massacre of the innocents ordered by Herod, the circumcision of Jesus, and the episode of Christ in the temple. It then skips to Jesus' life at age 30, including his visit to the Mount of Olives and the revelation by the Archangel Gabriel. The text confirms the appointment of the 12 apostles and includes teachings attributed to Jesus, covering the life of Abraham and the origin of circumcision. The text also includes a series of parables, the proclamation of Jesus as the Messiah, the confrontation with the Pharisees over a woman accused of adultery, the warning by the Archangel Gabriel to the Virgin Mary about Christ's impending crucifixion, the role of Pontius Pilate, and the Last Supper. Nearly all the key events of the traditional Christian narrative are included. However, the major difference is that, according to Barnabas, God orders the archangels Gabriel, Michael, Raphael, and Uriel to save Jesus by taking him through the window of the house where they all were, lifting him to heaven. Meanwhile, Judas' face and voice are transformed to resemble Jesus. Judas returns home, surprised to be greeted as if he were Christ. He is arrested, ordered to be crucified, and his remains are taken to the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. Jesus then asks to see his mother and disciples to tell them what happened. He then instructs Barnabas to write down the events. The gospel concludes with the apostles dispersing after seeing Christ. This text has another significant difference from the canonical gospels. It mentions Muhammad as the Messiah who will follow Christ on 9 occasions. This is one reason the Muslim world acknowledges this text's validity. Why does Islam accept the gospel of Barnabas, while Christians do not? Although Islam is a different religion, it acknowledges the existence of Jesus as the Messiah for the Jews, but not for all of humanity. In fact, Islamic beliefs directly oppose the accounts of the canonical Gospels, particularly the idea that Jesus died on the cross to atone for humanity's sins. Therefore, it is not surprising that the Muslim world recognizes the Gospel of Barnabas, as the 4 canonical Gospels contradict the Islamic narrative and the prophecies of Muhammad, while the Gospel of Barnabas aligns with them. The existence of Jesus aligns more closely with religious perspectives and the official historical narrative. However, the debate surrounding the authenticity of certain documents, such as the Gospel of Barnabas, seems to be primarily a concern within the Islamic world. Despite its intriguing claims, historical and scientific evidence does not appear to support the legitimacy of the Gospel of Barnabas. Over the years, its authenticity has been questioned, even prompting the Vatican to express interest in reviewing this version of biblical events. However, the Turkish government, which currently holds the document, has denied these requests without providing clear reasons. Experts who have examined the document agree that it is not a forgery. It is written in Syriac, an extinct language difficult to fake, and the book itself is traditionally constructed, with animal-based pages and handwritten text that would be challenging to replicate. Despite this, the general academic consensus is that the Gospel of Barnabas is a fraud. Many scholars believe it was created during the Middle Ages, between the 15th and 16th centuries, rather than in the 1st century when Barnabas supposedly lived. There is no historical evidence of its existence prior to these centuries. Furthermore, the text is not cited in any works by ecclesiastical historians, ancient chroniclers, or Christian or secular texts. No references to this gospel exist, even among early Islamic writers. Even if one were to argue that the Catholic Church suppressed this gospel, proving such a claim would be highly challenging. The Gospel of Barnabas stands out as the only apocryphal gospel that has gained attention, despite many other versions being published in the early Christian era and referenced in various works. The silence surrounding the Gospel of Barnabas seems to confirm its absence in antiquity. The Codex Gigas, often called the Devil's Bible, is another mysterious and intriguing document with its own history. This medieval manuscript is the largest in the world, measuring 91.5 centimeters in height, 50 centimeters in width, and nearly 23 centimeters in thickness, and weighing almost 75 kilograms. The Codex Gigas contains various texts, including an entire Bible written in Latin, Flavius Josephus's Antiquities of the Jews, works by other ancient authors, and chapters featuring magical formulas, rituals, and even a calendar. It was believed that the Codex Gigas contained all the knowledge of the world in one book. At first glance, it may seem like a simple compilation of important works. However, this document is a mystery. Experts are unsure how it was composed, yet it is written with remarkable consistency, indicating that it was the work of a single scribe. The quality and continuity of the manuscript suggest it was created in a short period, but specialists argue that producing such a consistent and high-quality manuscript quickly was impossible during the medieval era. Creating the Codex Gigas should have taken about 5 years of constant writing, yet realistically, it would have required at least 25 years of work, considering the medieval practices and limitations. However, the manuscript shows no signs of aging or changes in the scribe's style, making its creation process a complete enigma. The Codex Gigas dates back to the early 13th century and is believed to have been created in the Benedictine monastery of Podlasis in Bohemia. It was part of Emperor Rudolf II's imperial library in Prague and was taken by the Swedish army in 1648 during the 30 Years' War. Today, this significant document rests in the National Library of Sweden in Stockholm, the country's capital. The mysteries of the Codex Gigas extend beyond its contents to its history. In the 13th century in Bohemia, there was a monk named Hermann who committed an unforgivable act by breaking his religious vows, an offense considered irredeemable at the time. He was sentenced to death by being immured, literally being walled up alive. This form of execution involved building 4 walls around the condemned person, leaving them to die slowly of starvation. However, just before the final brick was placed, Hermann begged for mercy. The abbot offered him a deal. Hermann had to write a book containing all the knowledge of the world in a single night. Although this task seemed impossible, Hermann had no choice. It was his only chance to escape such a dreadful fate. That night, he is said to have offered his soul in exchange for completing the task, and by morning, he presented the finished work to the abbot, thus saving his life. According to some, this legend might be confirmed by the signature on the work, which reads Hermannus Inclusus, or Hermann the Recluse. The name Ernan, when translated, holds deeper implications, possibly signifying punishment or voluntary isolation. This detail adds an intriguing layer to the legend, suggesting that the monk might have willingly taken on his task as a form of penance. In the Middle Ages, it was a common belief that copying and reproducing sacred texts could serve as a way to atone for one's sins. Within the pages of the Codex Gigas, particularly just before the section describing heaven, there are 5 full pages written in uppercase letters, pleading for forgiveness and detailing the sins committed. This confession adds weight to the theory that the Codex was more than just a collection of knowledge. It was also a spiritual exercise for the monk. The Codex Gigas is notable not just for its content, but also because it is the only medieval manuscript known to feature a full-page illustration of the devil. The demon is depicted in an empty landscape, trapped between 2 towers, with red horns and 2 tongues, wearing nothing but a piece of ermine cloth. Interestingly, ermine was reserved for royalty during the medieval period, suggesting that the demon is being portrayed as the Prince of Darkness. This detail has earned the Codex Gigas its nickname, the Devil's Bible. Adding to the Codex's mysterious aura, art historians have revealed that all illustrations in the manuscript, including that of the devil, were created by a single artist. This is particularly unusual because, at the time, scribes typically collaborated with multiple artists to complete such works. The unique style of the illustrations has not been identified in any other works from that period, further deepening the enigma surrounding the manuscript. Another layer to the Codex Gigas legend involves the 10 missing pages. In 1477, facing financial difficulties, the Benedictine monastery where the Codex was created sold the manuscript to another Benedictine monastery in Brumov. Ironically, this sale saved the Codex from destruction, as the original monastery was soon after ravaged by the Hussite Revolution, which would have likely led to the Codex's loss. The manuscript remained in Brumov until 1593 when it was borrowed by Emperor Rudolf II of the Holy Roman Empire. The Codex never returned to its original owners, as the emperor became obsessed with the manuscript. This obsession eventually contributed to his downfall, and 6 years after his death, the 30 Years' War broke out. As a result of this conflict, the manuscript ended up in Sweden, where it remains today. The Codex Gigas faced further peril in 1697 when a fire broke out in Stockholm Castle. The royal librarian ordered the manuscript to be saved, but in the chaos, the book was